Every day you hustling.
All right, welcome to REKT to Riches, a show that explores the journey of crypto traders, entrepreneurs, and people hustling coins to survive. I'm your host, Rocky, and we have a very special guest. He's my homie, Needacoin. You might know him on Twitter. How's it going, Needacoin?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me on. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure,
My home
man.
away from shitcoin talk.
Nice. So, yeah, basically, I just wanted to do a show that kind of talks to some of the players in the game and, to see what people's journeys are so they can kind of explore or show us their path and any words of wisdom and so on and so forth. So, how about you tell us how you first got started into Bitcoin and how you got started in the space and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. So in 2013 at my job that I was working at the time, there was a guy who wouldn't stop talking about Bitcoin. He was all about it. He'd watched it go from $10 to $1 or whatever, and he's been watching it go back up, and he kept getting in everybody's ear about Bitcoin. And finally I gave it a chance. I looked at it online, researched it a little bit, and read the white papers, and pretty much was hooked from there, man. Quickly got some money in. Didn't invest very much. I didn't have very much at the time, but quickly got some money in, and it really wasn't long after that, probably right around the end of 2013, 2014 is when I found shitcoins. And that's basically where the journey started right there.
Nice. First rule about Bitcoin is never shut up about Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah, the sad part, and he might be watching this because he does still focus on crypto, but the sad part is he never did get into Bitcoin.
What?
He sat sidelines the entire time and just was a huge fan. His wife wouldn't let him get into it. It was too risky. And I went ahead, and basically he was living vicariously through me there for a bit.
Oh no. That's oh wow, that's man. Okay. Well, I mean, that's the thing. People, if they're getting started, they don't have to put in a ton of risk into it. I mean, he could have just tossed in $100 or whatever, and probably, he'd have his Lambo today on that. But anyways.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You don't need a lot. You didn't need a lot, I should say, to start in crypto. Obviously today with airdrops and everything, you can kind of get by doing things like that. But yeah, definitely hard to throw a lot of money at the space. So especially back then when it was so volatile. So threw what little I had and just began my shitcoin dreams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. For anyone new who's listening, if you don't have a lot of risk capital to put in, then just start hustling, find ways to earn some crypto online. I mean, you could even go out and collect bounties or airdrops or whatever, or you can blog, you could create content, you can do affiliate marketing. There's so many different ways that you can start actually earning crypto online, and it's very easy to make money in the crypto space. And even myself, when I got started, I mean, I got started with a few $1,000s, but I also did a lot of hustling too. I was blogging and whatever I could to start to earn crypto before I got really serious into trading. So yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of revenue angles in this place. You could link up with a community and even help them try and move forward with web designs or anything like that. If you have any of those skills, if you're good at writing articles, there's money to be made in that angle too. So I completely agree with you. There's a lot of different angles. When I started with $350.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, anytime people dive in, because we got a lot of new people asking me, if they should dive in at these prices and blah, blah. And I always tell people, like, start off slow. I mean, the biggest trap for noobs is FOMO. Like I had it in 2013, and my first Bitcoin transaction was getting ripped off like $3,000 on a pre-order scheme, right? And because I FOMO'd, I thought, oh, I'm gonna make so much money a month, and oh, this is the next ASIC and this and that, you know. And then I didn't learn my lesson. I tried to do it again on alpha technology or whatever, the first Litecoin ASIC, and I got ripped off again, right? Like, so that was my initiation into crypto, basically just burning thousands of dollars in a bonfire. And after that, I learned from that experience, and I decided to, you know what, I think I'll stay out of mining. You know, I did some GPU mining, but I was like, I think I'm going to stay out of mining and focus on trading. And I took that experience with me and started off very cautiously and slowly, and then slowly built up my risk capital. And as a result, I haven't really taken any like real serious hits in trading. I mean, every trader takes a hit, but nothing that you know, the winners have definitely outpaced the losers because of that experience, because I just jumped into it kind of blind and dumb, you know. Like,
Oh, I got ripped off so many times in the beginning, I couldn't even begin to explain it. I think, you know, sometimes people will look at people who've been around and think they're being arrogant when they come out and say this stuff. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of us have seen a lot of these scams come out before, and we've been affected by them, right? So
yeah.
that's why a lot of us end up speaking up about this stuff. But yeah, definitely the first couple coins I got into were just terrible. First couple projects I got into basically any site that you could send money to try and make more Bitcoin. I was sending a little bit of Bitcoin there, and I realized this is definitely not the way to be doing things.
Yeah, for sure. You know, anything that promises high returns, like these Ponzi schemes, like OneCoin and BitConnect and stuff. I mean, I always, obviously, anything that smells like an outright Ponzi, I always warn people stay away from. And, you know, I find some people exaggerate too much. Like, you might have maximalists that are like, oh, every shitcoin's a Ponzi, you know. And I think that kind of does or even those economists who, oh, Bitcoin's a Ponzi, tulips. I mean, they do a great disservice to people because it doesn't allow people to differentiate what's really a scam and what isn't. You know, by calling everything a scam. And in my opinion, I think there are things that are outright scams, and then there are things that, you know, we may disagree with, maybe on a philosophical or political level or whatever our economic disposition is, but doesn't necessarily, just because we disagree with something doesn't necessarily mean it's a scam. I mean, just my own personal example, you know, like I've recently started having a lot of fun trolling Bcash, and you know, I'm just doing that to have fun. You know, I've traded, I've made money off of it, and I don't think it's a scam per se, but you know, I think they're using a bit of a deceptive narrative for sure, but I wouldn't go so far as to outright call it a scam or anything like that, even though I have fun trolling it. But what was your biggest obstacle on that journey? Like, what was the biggest thing you got scammed from, would you say?
Oh geez. Well, probably it wasn't actually that long ago. And with the Zeke mining, but there was a guy who took funds for Zeke mining and ended up running away with the funds, never to be seen
Oh
again.
no.
Yeah, but I think in the beginning a lot of it was just those early coins, you know, those ones where people are pegging, putting dollar figures on it, you know, this will reach $1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those were some of the bigger ones to avoid back in the day, and because there was only so many options back in the day too, it was a lot easier for these guys to manipulate these things too. Now you've got 1,300 different choices, right? So
Yeah.
a little bit harder for them to get their hands in all of them.
I remember back in the day, you know, in 2014, you know, pre-mine was a dirty word, you know,
Oh
and
yeah.
and this is all like proof of work stuff. So people still had to, you know, put in some energy into creating these. But nowadays, you know, it's all about, well, the ICO bubble's kind of tapered off a bit, but nowadays it's like, hey, not only are we going to pre-mine, but we're going to keep the majority of supply for ourselves. And we're going to sell you the rest of the supply. And there you go. And people
If
love it.
Yeah, if this was 2014, these ICOs would not be getting away with what they're getting away with today. That's for sure. Nobody would have been willing to invest in those. If you kept a 10% pre-mine, you really had to justify it back in the day. Never mind charging people on top of that. A big thing I think I would say back then to now is People hoard their Bitcoins a lot more now than they did back then.
Hmm.
Back then there was giveaways for, if a site wanted to do a reward system so they could get new wallet or something. The community was always donating for those kind of things.
Yeah.
Everything was very much community driven, and now a lot of these establishments have built themselves from the top, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's true. The vibe was a lot different, In some ways I kind of feel for noobs coming into the space now because when we got into it, there definitely it was a lot more carefree, people were having a lot more fun. I mean, there was, I mean, I'm always having fun, but there were a lot of scams and sure, and the industry was new, but there wasn't as, I didn't find there was as much divisiveness in the community. And obviously, like, the whole Bitcoin block size debates created a big divisiveness and a lot of trolling and such, and altcoins fighting Bitcoin, and this is just like, I think in some ways we've lost sight of why we're doing all of this, and I tweeted one time that technology can't save us from ourselves. Like, we could try to automate systems and take out the trust factor third parties, but no matter what, people are going to find a way to get political and about things and to fight and such.
Yeah, I think the big thing back then too, like the tip alt was huge, and when Bitcoin was only worth a couple $100 at best, it was a lot easier for these guys to throw money around, right? You see a lot of guys on Twitter always throwing money around, and really the only people who were getting called out was the outright scammers. And
Yeah.
throughout the years, you see less and less tips. More so, if you do see a tip now, it's just for advertising purposes.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to back in the day, it was trying to get more people involved, right? Well, very similar to how Bitcoin was starting out when people were throwing around 10,000 Bitcoin to each other just to let them test the system, right?
Yeah, for sure. I found out that an old friend of mine that I years ago I encountered him again at a Psytrance party festival, and he got into Bitcoin like really really early in the early days in like 2010, and he said it was just a point system and people were just trying to hack each other's points for fun, before it even had any value to it. But what's your I know you're really into the micro caps. So what's your particular style of trading or investing in crypto?
Yeah, for sure. So for people who don't know me, obviously I'm looking for the low caps. I've got more patience than most of them, so I have no problem holding on to these things. A big thing for me, I could take this all the way back to 2014, was there was always underrated projects from day one that we're kind of getting pushed off the shelves because other things were getting the focus at the time, right?
Yeah.
And when Bitcoin was going around $1,000, there was a lot of projects that were just dumping to disgusting market caps to the point where they couldn't even open up a building with the size of their market cap.
Oh wow.
And these coins were actually really good coins with really good projects ahead of them. So basically, I've kept the same style for the majority of the 3 years here. And all I'm really focusing on is coins that maybe aren't as big today as they could be in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get those coins that aren't on the top 100 today, but they're household brands in crypto in a few years, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of more or less my trading style. I've held some coins for a really really long time that people had no faith in, and all of a sudden when they finally broke out, they've driven a lot of attention. Verge would be a good example for
Okay.
that. Nobody really liked Verge when it was Dogcoin Dark, but just a simple name change to over to Verge, and that drove that thing almost 100x, right? But
Nice. Nice. Yeah, you definitely need to have patience, perseverance, and strong hands for that particular strategy. What was one of your best investments in the crypto
uh,
space as far as coins?
just to add on to what you just said there, when I first started, I was working with a guy, and I was in the middle of doing a little bit of work, and all of a sudden he goes, Bitcoin's crashing. And I had, about 10 minutes left of work to do. So I finished up my work. I went back and I looked at my phone, and the price was right back at what it was. and I looked over at him, and he had sold the bottom and lost half of his Bitcoin in that
Ouch.
10-minute period that I was working. And I really started to realize after that that sometimes you can't rush these things. You know, you can get caught on the bad side of a trade, and maybe if the coin is good coin and you do plan on holding it and stuff, patience can persevere, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good lesson too. I mean, there's a fine line between using a stop and selling the bottom.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And the
I
markets are always kind of like the razor's edge like that sometimes.
I think that some of these projects, if you actually believe in them on a long-term scale, that if you go back, a couple of years to where they were at to where they are now, they've all grown tremendously. So when you start dealing with these coins that are in a, million to $5 million market cap, and we've got coins that altcoins like Ethereum pushing $40 billion,
Yeah.
there's really massive growth. But you can't just hang on to any coin. You can't just grab any random pile of dog shit you say laying around. You really, I always say this to people: if you're gonna bag hold a coin, at least bag hold something you like, because it's a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So basically, like your routine is, would you say, is like predominantly revolved around fundamental analysis and researching a lot of these new coins and technology, and which ones you feel are going to be the most promising in the future?
Absolutely, yeah, I do a lot of that, and then I say I'd mix a lot of trends into that. So when PSW or POW coins start to go,
Mm-hmm.
I start to look at different mining angles on that. And if POS coins start to go, I want to look at coins like that. Same thing we did back in the day when anonymous coins pumped, and then right after that, color coins pumped, and stuff like that, right? So there's patterns and stuff to follow for that. But for the most part, yeah, fundamental analysis. A lot of these Bitcoin talk pages, man, if you're the only one on there and it's a good project, you might be holding a little gem here.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, you're combining fundamentals with market sentiment. What's the
Yeah,
flavor of hype, shitcoin hype of the month or whatnot. And it's true. It is interesting how it goes in waves like that. Now it was all about the forked coins, and before
yeah,
that it's like ICOs and masternodes
Masternodes.
and
Yeah,
anonymous coins and I remember at one point on Poloniex, it just seemed like, or the cure coins or whatnot, or just
yeah,
or some
research coins.
research coins. That's it. Or just sometimes random shit would just start to pump too.
But
Like,
even when Bitcoin Cash was about to come out here, pretty much any coin with Bitcoin in the name pumped as well, right?
yeah.
So yeah, we do stupid, silly little trends like this all the time in crypto that you can kind of start to follow. We've been doing it for 3 years. There's really no secrets, so you could definitely find that out.
Yeah, for sure. So what was your biggest grand slam, would you say, as far as a coin?
I'd probably go back to 2014 when Bitcoin wasn't worth as much. I invested in a couple coins: Black Coin, Veri Coin, um, Pot Coin, a couple of those.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Coin and Veri Coin, those were the ones that took off, that made me go full time into crypto.
Oh,
That's what
nice.
really got me really, really excited about the space. Vert Coin was also involved in that little run there. But I would just say that kind of those coins in general, I wouldn't put one particular coin on it,
Mm-hmm.
because it was kind of a blend of a few different coins that I got attached with. And then after that, it was pretty much, I was looking for every coin that was low cap in that 500 Satoshi range after that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's when you went full time into in 2014 after hitting a couple home runs.
Yeah, so yeah, I went full time in crypto 2000 May 2014.
Okay.
Um Not that long after I had actually got into the space, probably jumped the gun a little bit. And then I had actually when I went full time, the price of Bitcoin actually dropped from $1,000 all the way back down. I was thinking, what did I do? And that's when I really started to look at the staking coins for other sources of income, just a
Mm-hmm.
little, just to generate a little bit of revenue there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't have to worry so much about making sure I made the perfect trades all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you basically just set up, use some coins because you're a long time holder of a lot of these coins anyway. So you're might as well put those soldiers to work and generate some passive income.
That's that's the way I look at it, man. I always say this, my Bitcoins are just minions, right? I send them out and I expect them to bring back more minions with them.
Nice. So would you say your first year as a full time crypto investor, would you say there was some struggle involved in the first year? Was it
Oh, absolutely.
yeah?
It was an up and down year because Bitcoin was going down. Everybody was back into the Bitcoin's dead phase, right?
Yeah.
And everybody was going there, and the altcoins, there wasn't very much volume, to be had. So you really had to do your picking, just a little bit of picking from all of them. But uh, that's more or less where I stop trying to pick out 10-20% wins, and I started going for more of these bigger wins. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very open about holding for a 10x and whatever, and that's because I try not to make sure I have to be perfect. If you invest in 10 solid projects
Mm.
and one of them goes 10x and the rest of them all die, you've broke even, right?
Yeah.
So I started looking more into that philosophy as a way to pay my bills, right? One
Yeah.
coin runs and I'll be able to pay my bills with that.
For sure. So obviously this year is probably the best year out of them all, I would imagine. I know it is for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think that goes without saying for everybody here in this space. We've seen Bitcoin go to, insane levels. The end of last year was really great because you see the altcoins really start to ramp up near the end of last year,
Yeah.
and a couple of the bigger caps went, and basically everything after followed it. But I think for everybody who's been around in this space, obviously 2017 has been an unbelievable year. But it didn't come without, like I see a lot of these guys out here. I've been holding this coin for 2 months and I'm not rich yet. What's going on? Uh, you really have to look at it from these guys who have been around for a while. There was a lot of people who left this space in 2015 and 2016, right?
Yeah.
Because things were just not working out for them. So that patience is so key into this. Obviously, 2017, we've all seen the returns that we've been waiting for a long time. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 2014 is where I was kind of just practicing my trading and making mistakes. And 2015 is actually when I went, full time into it. And I think for myself, it was probably the best time I could have gone into trading full time. The market sucked on a personal level as far as for my own personal trades that year because the volatility in Bitcoin wasn't that great, but I knew that we were in an accumulation phase. And so I just aggressively did whatever I could to make money that year to accumulate as many Bitcoins as I could that year between a $200 and $300 range. And that also included, blogging and stuff like that at the time. And then, each year just got better and better. And so, yeah, this year's been absolutely amazing. But yeah, you have to have patience and perseverance. I tell people that the most money in crypto is made in the greater market cycles, and sometimes those market cycles could actually take a few years. And I remember in 2014, I almost kind of got a little bit of a distaste for holding altcoins for very long because I did end up bag holding some stuff. I ended up mining stuff like Dogecoin and all that stuff, and well, that's gone on its waves, ups and downs. And so I've kind of, for myself, I've developed almost like a bit of a hybrid strategy where I do a lot more trading and lock in profits in Bitcoin. But so, for example, during that big altcoin pump season we saw last spring and summer, I pretty much like cashed out of everything and hedged into dollars and then started playing the markets and so on and so forth. But there's definitely something to be said for just longer term, strong hands investing because, if you look at some of the really successful coins today, they've had their ups and downs, right? They've had their bear season and their bull season, but overall the trajectory on some of these have been very similar to Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin's had its cycles and its ups and downs over the past 8 years, but inevitably the growth has kind of been exponential with those waves type of thing. And you know, one thing that kind of comes to mind as well is even things like Dash. I remember when it was trading at $1, and now suddenly it's, you know, $500.
Yeah, no, when Dash hit $20, that was massive. You know, I remember crypto Twitter blowing up. You know, you're a fool if you're holding Dash still, right? The only person who was speaking out about it was Not So Fast. He was the only guy who was actually still on the side of Dash Coin. But what back to what you're saying just about like how the space is growing and all that. You know, today we're sitting here looking at a crypto market cap of $260 billion, right?
Yeah.
3 years ago at this time, crypto market cap at a whole was just barely over $5 billion, right?
Yeah.
Bitcoin's volume 3 years ago at this time was only $14 million a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And you know, now today it's almost $5 billion, right? So even from the bigger coins to the smaller coins, everybody just kind of got a level up over the years, right? Everything has kind of just moved up. I remember them saying, "Oh, I don't know if we have enough space or room in the space for 2 coins worth $1 billion," right? Now we have 12 coins worth $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
that it's a lot of things like that. The space is just growing at such a rapid rate that we've seen, you know, massive gains for people who have been holding. Obviously, some of these bigger coins, that's great, right? You've made yourself a lot of money, but even a lot of the smaller ones that kind of went unnoticed. There's a lot of market caps right around that $100,000 range back in the day,
Yeah.
and now those market caps are more 3 to 5 million dollar market caps, right? So
Yeah, absolutely. It's I find amazing about the current space is that now a whole bunch of institutional money is starting to get in, and you know, usually it's the institutional investors who are the smart money who get in before everybody else, you know, and then get in before the public. But with crypto, it's almost like the opposite, you know, is the smaller retail trader and investor who got in before them, or at least a small minority of us. We're still nowhere near early majority. And now they're coming in and they're buying our bags at like insanely high prices. But
yeah,
obviously they need liquidity.
You could go look at Digibyte is a great example of that. There was absolutely no liquidity. You couldn't sell your bag if you wanted to. 3 years ago, the market cap of Digibyte in total was $125,000. The volume was right around $1,000 a day, give or take. And now you fast forward 3 years to today, and that market cap is now over $87 million, and they have well over $2 million volume on the day, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just the whole space as a whole has grown so big, but it wasn't like these projects weren't good in 2014. They're just getting recognized today, same as the low caps of today might not get recognized until 2019, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So how'd you fare in the bear trend in 2014? Did you make some money? Did you lose some money? How was it for you?
uh the start of it was absolutely ugly. It was absolutely terrible. But I found staking coins,
Hmm.
and this is when I started staking. And basically anything that could be staked, I decided I was going to get some and stake it,
Hmm.
and that was a great way to create income while that whole downtrend, alts were dead, was happening. I look back at what I was staking back then. It's actually quite surreal to look at today. A big thing to think about is if you're staking, say $5 a day today, and
Hmm.
that price goes up 10 times, you were
Yeah,
now staking $50 a day during that time, right? So
true.
I think for people, they always kind of see what's in front of them, the today's value.
Yeah,
That was a big thing for me, is so I'd put some of these coins away, I'd wait for a pump, and on a pump I would release some of my staking coins. I
yeah,
would still hold my original position, and I started doing this cycle, and I did that cycle for majority 2014, 2015. until things started to turn around and I could safely come out of my freezer. Um, but yeah, I did that for a long time. And, you know, when alts were looking bad here, I kind of went back to my old plans and I dived into some Masternode coins and some POS coins
Nice.
and kind of protected myself from this downtrend as much as I possibly could.
For sure. What was your favorite Masternode coin?
Oh, favorite Masternode coin. Um, I
Prop.
don't even know. Probably just the one that was giving me the highest interest at the time, to
Yeah,
be
for sure.
completely honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, eh, there's so many good coins for just generating a little bit of income
Yeah.
that from a project standpoint and from what my gains are, those are two completely different things. I think obviously the Dash Master nodes throughout time have proven themselves to be, one of the most dominant master nodes. Anyone who did that,
Yeah.
got into that at that time, was doing pretty good.
For sure.
Um,
For sure. What do you think of
as,
Zcoin?
not a overly huge fan.
Okay.
Uh, little bit for me. Kind of same thing. $100 million market cap.
Yeah.
It's already kind of made its way into the top 50.
Yeah.
Uh, I would actually be looking for alternatives that are kind of similar, but doing something unique.
Yeah.
Um, to go along with that, yeah, that's more what I would be looking for.
Okay. So just something that's not in the first page of CoinMarketCap, maybe something that's like a million or less, that's relatively new but looks promising, that you can basically accumulate a masternode on the cheap, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then your master node, say, like I was saying before, say it's only paying a little bit today, that money can always go up. Buying a Dash master node today is quite crazy, right? But who
Yeah.
knows, in a few years that play might work out. For me, it's just not my play. There's other master nodes that I could get into, right?
Yeah, much higher reward if you start off like at the bottom versus dropping $500,000 on a master node, right? Like with
Exactly,
very low
exactly.
percentage returns now because there's so many people doing it. It's not like it was when you were getting 26 or 40% off of Dash master nodes. And the cool thing with that particular strategy is if you find the right one, your risk capital in it is very low and it accumulates itself. So if it turns into something that becomes quite profitable in a few years, well, it's just building a passive income stream, and you could just keep on building more master nodes out of those coins.
Yeah, that's exactly compound interest, man, right? Those who
Yeah.
make it earn it, and those who don't pay it, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, I'm starting to look into some of those lower cap master nodes as well. I've been doing a little bit of fundamental research because it's kind of piqued my interest, and I'm just looking for other things to put my money in. Like I'm kind of at a point where I don't really need to lock in any more hard profits or whatnot. Like my tax bill's too crazy now, so I just want to look for new things to accumulate, and experiment with different things now, and so on and so forth. So, what words of wisdom can you give our listeners?
I guess just basically in general, you got to be patient with these things. With staking, like a Bitbean, I've
Hmm.
been staking that for over 2 years. It's been nice passive income for 2 years now.
Oh wow,
Um,
nice.
the little things like that, you really got to be patient with it. I know everybody gets into this space, and the first thing that you want to do is turn your little bit of money into a lot of money.
Yeah,
But the main things that you got to really focus on is just using proper risk management and
yeah,
making sure that you're going into a project that you truly will be around in a few years. Don't just follow the trends. Don't just follow like what people are doing.
hmm.
Don't just follow because Twitter said something. Sometimes I'm so early into coins that I post about them, and for 6 months, people just want to, sit there and call me a bag holder, and then all of a sudden, one day, out of nowhere, 30 people tweet about it, and all of a sudden, the whole coin blows up. So just
Yeah, reminds me of Rise.
Yeah, yeah. I held rise for I don't even know how long, 200-300 Satoshis, and then boom, there we go, 10,000 Satoshis.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that was a nice one.
but yeah, I know, and Verge was the exact same way. Like I said, when it was Dogcoin Dark, nobody cared about that coin. It was one Satoshi. The volume was dead. They switched the name, copy and pasted the an onto a new thread on Bitcoin Talk,
Yeah.
and people went nuts. They absolutely loved it. And it's the little things like that I've seen in the past, the coin supply reductions, little things like that come up that can incentivize your coin in the future. But Verge was always a great coin. The name just maybe wasn't the greatest off the start, right? So
Yeah.
patience, proper risk management, and don't just try and get rich. Don't go into the next Ponzi that you see. Just
Yeah,
take your time with this thing. These things will happen.
for sure. If you pick 10 micro caps, out of those 10, how many do you think would be home runs and how many would be flops? Like what would be the ratio?
Oh, that would be a tough one to put a number on. It really depends. But obviously, because of 2017, even the ones that were flops turned into nice wins, right?
True,
But
true.
I always like to say to people, if you're gonna pick 10 coins you like, and two of them work out, right? You've doubled your money,
Yeah.
and you get a 10x on that. You've doubled your money on that.
True.
So
True.
when you start looking at these low cap coins, $1 million to $5 million, and you're looking at, okay, could this thing go 10x from here? Um, Take everything out and put it aside. If you like the coin, you like the market cap, the price you've got in at, just forget about it. Put it off to the side. You weren't planning on getting rich today, anyways.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any links or bags that you would like to show us?
Um, Well, I have, you can come check out my Twitter feed. I posted a whole bunch of links. I'm actually giving away a lot of that money that I get from the referral links.
Okay.
Um, so it's more for someone that I know to help them out.
Okay.
So that's
Nice.
why I'm doing those. So you can come to my Twitter page at Needacoin and come give those a click, and I'd be highly grateful of that.
Perfect.
Also, you can follow me at InvestFeed. That's where I've kind of been posting some of the picks where I've been looking at and stuff like that.
Hmm.
I really like the platform, and I don't really need to shield the coin. I think I've shielded enough, but definitely like the platform, and I think it could grow into something big in a few years.
Perfect. So I'll link that up and on my site and on YouTube and such too, so people can find the links. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a blast, and keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing, Needacoin.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me on. It was a good time.
Absolutely. Take care. Cheers.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.